Hey students, welcome to episode 58 of the Film Student Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Lazzeroni. My guest this week is Will Lupica from the Violet cohort. We talk about when he did social media for an organic farm, we nerd out on some gear, and we do an unpaid ad for Upward. On with the show.
So I graduated from Middlebury College with a degree in film, and then I really had no interest in doing like the regular grad school kind of film school thing. And I was working for a few months, doing like commercial work, like photography and video.
Like commercial, like in television commercials, or commercial is in corporate?
Like, yeah, so like working,
work.
so working freelance doing like photography and video for like Instagram and the website of a couple companies.
So some social media stuff.
Yeah, social media and for like very small. It wasn't like it was just people who I connected with.
Gotcha.
So doing that kind of stuff for a few months, and that was more just to use my skills that I had learned to make money. So I didn't have to get like a normal.
What's that like?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a coincidence. I was like expecting to go home, which I ended up doing because I kind of hated where I was. But
where's home?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you know Brady Jarosovich at all?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
We met at that same mixer at the Sedgwick stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So we talked because she lived in Providence for a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about that.
That's cool.
It's a great city. A lot of people here in the Midwest don't know about it.
Don't
even
like
know
a
Rhode Island.
Quirky art city.
It is, and it's.
I mean, if Brady is any indication of what it's like out there.
Yep. Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's like the big three. It's like a college town, and the big three colleges are RISD. Which is like one of the best art schools in the country, like visual arts. And
Seth MacFarlane went, I think.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane went there, and Quahog is a fictional city
based on
Providence, sort of Providence
and,
area, because Quahogs are like a big thing in Rhode Island. But it's like RISD, which is super artsy, Brown, which is super like liberal arts, Ivy League.
Yeah.
They don't really. You can pick your own major, but it's like still a super well-regarded school. And then
just a little bit of shade tossed in there.
Well, a little bit. It's
like it's complete bullshit how you choose your major, but
a little bit.
They're still Ivy League.
But they're still Ivy League. They get the credit. And then Johnson and Wales, which is one of the best culinary schools in the country. So it's just like a hotbed of art, raging intellectuals, and like really good restaurants, because a lot of people stay and do arts and restaurant stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a really cool place. Underrated. People don't really know Rhode Island. They think it's like Long Island in New York, or they think it's not a state, just like an island. So that's a big thing, which a lot of people on the East Coast know about it because it's East Coast, and I haven't really lived for an extended period of time.
Everything's so close out there.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing when I was in DC, like it's 5 hours by train to get to New York.
Yeah.
And everything along the way is just as easily accessible.
Yeah. And that feels like far. Like for me, it was like if I had to drive, because Rhode Island, if you go like across the state one way is an hour and a half driving. Yeah. Across the state the other way is 2 hours driving.
Yeah.
So more than like 15 minutes, like that's a hike. Like that's at least a
You're
day
in a
trip.
different part of the state.
Exactly. So yeah, that's Rhode Island.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
So left home, went to Middlebury, where's that at?
Vermont.
Vermont. Okay.
Again,
so staying East Coast.
4.5 hours away, which for me was like a trek, but for most people it's like that's a day trip. Maybe. Yeah. But that's how it goes.
Nice.
When you're from New England.
And when you were doing the commercial stuff, where were you living?
Southampton, New York, which is like the Hamptons, like fancy pants town.
You were barely making a living. Is what you're saying.
Exactly. I made enough money to survive and then also buy camera gear, which is what I use my money for, and to live.
Yeah.
So I was working for like an oyster company, doing their photography and video, which was cool. And then also a little bit for like a farm out there, like an organic, or I don't know if they were organic, but
like shooting social media stuff for them.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah, we don't need to get into it. They still haven't.
Oh, they haven't paid you or something?
They paid me for some of the work, and then I kept asking, like, hey, do you want this video? Like, what kind of video do you want? And they just, like, no contact. So I bet they paid me for the footage I got and the photos I got for delivering no product, which is, like, it's fine with me. I got $400 to shoot for a couple days.
Yeah.
And then, they have nothing from what I shot. So that's on them. At this point, I'm fine with that. And maybe they'll come crawling back.
So are you working now while you're in classes here, or?
Yeah, so I'm working I want to start doing more photography and video stuff because that's A, more lucrative, and B, more interesting and develop skills that I want to work on. Yeah. But right now I'm a math tutor, which is decent money, and I like math a lot too, and I enjoy teaching.
Yeah.
That's just fun.
Have you ever... This is not an advertisement, but it's going to sound like one. Have you ever tried Upwork?
No.
It's a freelance site, kind of like Fiverr, but there's a lot more stuff on there that's like bigger, higher end. It actually started in Chicago, so there's actually a lot of stuff in Chicago.
That's good to know.
I've gotten a couple of video projects off there.
I'm going to write that down.
And it's free to sign up. They take just a cut of what you make off of it, but then they take care of all your tax documents and all that stuff for you too. So
that's so great.
And they protect you against non-paying clients and that sort of thing. So
Upwork, you said?
Upwork, yep. Worth looking into.
Not sponsored, but
not sponsoring the podcast. Nope, unfortunately not. I wish they were. I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
But because I've referred a bunch of people to it because I found some decent work and got paid for it. Actually, there was a project just recently I handed off to a past guest on the show, Dom Udell, because I just, with the new job I took, I didn't have the time to finish the project.
Yeah.
And so handed off, and that's going really well. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Upwork, if you're listening.
Upwork, yes. Go ahead if you want to freelance, find stuff on Upwork.
Great.
Should have like a theme music song like right here, something playing underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So you own all your gear. You did the same thing I did, where you showed up with a bunch of equipment and kind of ready to go.
Yeah. So I have a decent. I don't have like lighting much, because for the two places I worked, it was more like run and gun. So I have a Sony A7 III, which has been great. Yeah. So far, it's been, that was my big like splurge was on that. And then I also got the Tamron. Is it 28 to 75?
Okay.
Which there was a bug, but I got it after they fixed the bug, so it's been. It's like super cheap, and it's like.
How do you get a bug in a lens? That's like.
I don't know.
It's what's computerized wrong in a lens? That
I know.
It feels like so simple.
Yeah.
Granted, I couldn't build one. If you gave me the parts, I could not construct it myself. I will fully admit that. Yeah. But from the standpoint of like the thing that's going to have a technical issue, I would expect the camera to be the one.
Yeah, and if they have like, their only thing is just like telling it to do stuff. And you think, since they've been doing that for however many, like since they've been a company, be able to
figure that shit out.
You think they'd be like, oh, let's do the same thing that we did with the last one, and then just put it. We figured it out before. Let's re-engineer it a different way.
Repeat.
Exactly.
Lather, rinse, repeat.
And they don't get it. But so anyway,
so you're working with those. With that. Cool.
And then just a little, like the Rode Micro. Mm-hmm. And that's been working great.
Nice.
And then like the cheapest variable ND filter I could find.
Yeah.
And that's sort of my setup.
It's funny how much you can do with very little now.
Yeah.
Like I was actually before this was talking to a couple of the people in Yellow, and we were talking about their nonfiction pieces, and I didn't mention this to them, but the one I shot it on my phone.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to see what I could do with it, and it turned out great. Like it's 4K video. It looks perfectly fine. Like it was higher resolution than what my camera could have done at the time. Yeah. So it's higher resolution than what my current camera can even do because I'm running a C100. But, but it was it worked great. So you can do a lot with very little. What was your you did your nonfiction projects already, right?
Yeah.
What did you end up doing for that?
So I ended up doing like a chef's table parody.
Okay.
One of my friends in my cohort, Damon, he, not to call him out or anything, he doesn't necessarily know how to cook. He's still young, which is, that's
hot takes right here.
Well, he'll be the first to admit it. So basically I filmed him doing a little grocery shopping and then making, PB&J cereal. And that's what I have to do after we record this is go finish editing that because it's due tomorrow. But anyway, so did that. Take the title sequence from Chef's Table, replace a few of the clips with clips of Damon, and
just play it off as a another episode.
Exactly,
of it, but slightly retweaked for.
Yeah, so it was fun. That was fun because it was fun to try to figure out how to shoot like they do on Chef's Table, which is basically like as wide open as you can, aperture-wise, for your camera.
Super shallow depth of field.
Super shallow depth of field.
Especially if you don't have light kits, that's got to be tough to make happen.
Yeah, so it was a struggle, and his kitchen's like small and dim, so it was kind of hard. But then I did rent or take out one light from here, and so there are a few shots that are just like super, like the shadows are huge because that's what they do on the show. So that was really fun to try to recreate some of the shots because never done that before, like try to recreate somebody else's shooting style, especially trying to, because it's not enough to like make it look sort of like it, because it has to blend seamlessly
if you're
with literally
intercutting with the footage.
Exactly.
There was Alex Buono, who was the main producer behind a lot of the Saturday Night Live digital pieces that weren't Lonely Island. So basically like anything that was like a movie spoof thing that they went and shot on location, Jesus Unchained, that one, like all those, that was those were his work, and a lot of that was taking the movie that they were trying to copy or the directors whose style they were trying to lift and reverse engineering everything they were doing. And the crazy thing is the timeline he was on. Just to be able to turn that over in a week. Like they never had that much time to put it together. Like sometimes they would get a week and a half, but more often than not it was 1 week. To completely reverse engineer and produce, a believable spoof or clone of those movies, and it's insanely like interesting. And he kept a blog. If you go look up Alex Buono, you can find his blog and see like breakdowns of how he did every single one of them.
Wow.
And so there's Jesus Unchained, there's the Coterie of something. It's a Wes Anderson spoof there, but it's done as like a horror film.
Wow.
And there's like a half dozen of them, but they're amazing. And so he's a great one if you wanted to kind of get into that reverse engineering and seeing how somebody puts that stuff together.
Yeah.
There's a ton of pieces to it because it's everything from color palette, lighting, lens choice, camera choice, location scouting, and just everything all piles
and all
together.
The shots and
where how you frame things, how you set up your shots, especially for the Wes Anderson one. That one was just nuts
because those are so meticulous. And
and just to be able to clone something that somebody planned for months before they shot, and you're trying to do it in 1 week. Ugh,
crazy.
Insane. But so who is your what's your style? Where are you trying to go stylistic with the stuff that you're creating?
Good question. Well, I've had like a couple ideas for like Christopher Guest style, like mockumentaries. Just, I think it's a fun format, and given, the restrictions on time and locations and all that, they're fairly like real life looking, or documentary style, which are generally, I find, a little easier to film. Just because it doesn't have to look as good or look as meticulous, which I feel like is one of my weaknesses. Is like, I feel like I really need a good like set designer or set production designer.
Have you tried to find one here?
Not yet, because we haven't really done much shooting yet besides that one.
Ping? Well, I mean, it's. I don't think it's a bad idea to start like even just having like exploratory meetings with people.
Yeah.
And just try and see who you might want to work with, because then when you do come up with the idea, then you're not like scrambling to find someone. You kind of have your short list already lined up.
Totally.
There's a handful of people that have gone through the program already that are around. Like I know Murphy Dillo from Magenta. Okay. She does set deck and does an excellent job. I know there's a couple of people in Red and Orange that have done set design, and they're all still very interested in doing it. So
yeah.
I'm sure you can find some people.
Yeah.
And if that's the difference between like something looking super professional and looking real sophomoric, like give it a shot. See what you come out with.
I think that's a good idea.
So had you written much of your own stuff before coming through here?
Sort of. I would say writing's a thing that I feel like I want to get better at.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm a little bit ahead in the technical field just because I've done it for 4 years.
Right.
So that's less so like where I want to spend all my resources. Like writing's the thing that I feel like I have good concepts and good ideas, and they work in my head, and I just need to translate them to paper.
Yeah.
Because I've done a lot of I've done a lot of story and having other people like write with me.
Right.
Who do a lot of that.
That was my same experience. I had a room of writers that I worked with, and so I was there with them, but like when it came to actually coming up with the jokes and the line by line, like I stepped away and let them run with it.
Yeah.
And so I was very much just kind of like helping control story to make sure that they didn't like have our characters out in space or something.
Yeah.
Like had something we could actually shoot in the end of it. But, but yeah, and then I got here and I was like, I just need to learn to actually write.
Yeah.
And I think it was surprising. I found I actually was not terrible at it.
Yeah.
I'm still not great. There's definitely funnier people in my class, but it turned out well enough.
Yeah.
But
so that's what so I've written some stuff, and I've made a bunch of shorts.
Yeah.
Like because we had to through school.
Yeah.
And I like some of them. I think I also think some of them like I like the story and whatnot, but they definitely were earlier in my career when I wasn't as good at the technical stuff. So I wish they were a little better quality, but there are a couple that I like still, which is good.
Are you swinging for the fences on some of the stuff you're making here?
Not yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have some ideas that I might want to swing for the fences with later.
Like
especially
is it technical or just like the amount of characters, amount of locations?
Probably more so the latter.
Yeah.
Technically I feel like I can make something pretty good. It's more about like and there are other people in my cohort who were like swapping, work for each other. So like I will help them out, and like I've started to run a couple like workshop kind of things with people in my cohort, and then they in return will like help me write or help me like on set or help me just like organize and get people together. Because that's the stuff, like writing is something I don't think I'm great at yet, but I want to get better at. And then there's like the organization thing, which is like, I don't care about getting better at that. So like if I could have other people do that for me and I can help them in some other way, then that's sort of what I want to do with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a lot about like, like being on set is like the thought of like having a schedule and like sticking with it is just like, that's not my forte.
Have you been on many sets yet?
No professional sets. The sets of my own things,
But for other classmates or anything like that, have you done?
Yeah, I ran camera, like I was a cinematographer and camera op for one of my friends. And then I think for these next projects, I'm going to be on a couple more. Nice. Because people saw it and were like, oh, that's not bad.
Have you worked with Yellow at all? With any other people?
Not with Yellow yet, but
there's an interesting wall because the two Yellows I was just talking about. They were like, we don't know any of the Violets. Like it seems like because of how they've got your classes structured this term that you're not on the same days all the time. I think you get like one day a week that you're both in the building.
We just have Fridays together. Yeah. So that because we're Monday, Thursday, Friday. They're Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah. And I feel like you're sort of missing out on that because you don't have that cross-pollination of,
I think so,
of like working on stuff at the same time because they're going to need people, especially next term. Yeah. I mean, they're doing their final films and they're going to need as many bodies as they can get. Yeah. because they'll try and do like at least a few of them will try and do like full out sets,
Yeah.
and raise a budget, and
which is crazy, but also like necessary.
Yeah, and you're going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
The difference is when you guys do it, you'll be doing it with brand new students coming in.
Yeah.
Because there's no class in between, I don't think. Because I think the plan is to skip the summer term this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is what they did after us. So there wasn't a class immediately after us. Yellow was 2 terms later.
Because I thought they did that to get the schedule right, and now they're going to start doing it every semester. Like, I thought they were going to admit students in.
Oh, maybe.
I thought that's what Julie said, but I could be wrong. Also,
maybe they found enough to get it straight. Yeah, originally they were having, I think, trouble not finding enough bodies. They definitely always have enough applicants to fill out classes, but enough that they were like confident in bringing in and having to be part of the program, which I think is cool. I appreciate that they're more apt to take a term off than they are to just book people in here that have no business being here.
Yeah.
So it's still there's still some level of exclusivity for it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not just opening the floodgates and letting everybody in.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I think it'd be cool to have more people here.
Yeah,
it's not the youngest.
My first term was nuts because we had green, red and orange, and magenta and cyan. So there were 5 cohorts in here at once.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and there was a ton of sets. Like I DP'd on one of the Greens graduation project as a first term coming in. It was because same deal. I had production background experience. And he was shooting it on a Blackmagic that he was borrowing from another classmate. And I was like, well, I've used that camera before, so I can put this together. But but it was still nuts being, in that high of a position on somebody else's set.
Yeah.
Never had been something I'd done before.
Yeah.
Like I'd always been directing. So that was interesting. Cool. So what's your long-term goal with this? What do you want to do at the end of the rainbow?
At the very end of the rainbow,
yes.
Like way down the line.
When you get to your pot of gold, what is that pot of gold?
My pot of gold is probably like show running a show. Either depending on the show, like Netflix or network TV.
Yeah.
Like depending on which show. I have like a show in mind that a friend and I are working on that ideally sometime way down the line we'd be able to put up.
That you would co-show run or?
Yeah, something like that. I have no idea what that would look like. So probably, I mean, I know writing's a thing that I'm not as good at that I want to get better at, but that's something that appeals to me a lot. That's the main thing that I feel like if I come out of here, I think I would want to like write for TV.
Okay.
That's
because that's what the showrunner is. They're effectively the head writer that is also controlling the overall vision of the show.
Exactly.
Which is weird from films because films, it's always the director that's running things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting to want to shoot for that without necessarily having the background for it. It seems like a lot of people always kind of want to extend what they're already good at. So
yeah.
That's
I think that's always just appealed to me.
Yeah.
And it'd be great. Like obviously I'd start out ideally as like a random writer, just a writer, and then work my way and then, earn my respect or earn the respect
earn
of
your
others,
stripes,
earn my stripes, and then
work up through the ranks.
Exactly.
Get to the point where where you get to be the head honcho on stuff. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that'll look because also like I don't want to stop doing like production because I I love cameras and I love gear and I love like
you can nerd out on some gear.
Yeah, and I love doing photo and video stuff.
Have you
and editing and all that?
Have you met Logan yet?
No.
Okay, Logan graduated from. What was he, purple?
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the first, I think he was original orange. I can't remember. He's one of the original handful of cohorts. Mm-hmm. He's still around the area, and he does production for a living, but he's definitely a gearhead. I had him on, I think in the 20s for these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Go look up that one because we ended up talking for like almost an hour and just nerding out on gear.
Wow.
So that is a conversation I'm sure you would appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so how are you feeling about the program so far? You're coming up on the end of your first term.
Yeah.
Done most of the projects this term. Now starting to turn your eye towards your next set of classes.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely
haven't been
still
overwhelmed
getting used
yet.
to it. Not overwhelmed yet. Definitely have gotten to the point where the workload is enough that I'm definitely prioritizing some projects over others.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm spending my time working on the projects I care more about.
Okay.
Which I think is necessary in any place that you have a lot of work, such as this.
Is it the writing projects or is it the production projects that you feel like you're dedicating more?
Depends on the week, I guess. If it like this latest, like the documentary thing or the nonfiction work that we're doing now, I put a lot of time in, like at the beginning, and now have to put a lot of time in tonight.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
burn the midnight oil.
Yeah, and then in the
Sorry
meantime, yeah, that's how it goes. And then in the middle, there was like we had like a pretty big assignment for writing that I was like, I'm just gonna sit down and hammer this in. So like, depending on how I'm feeling, really, I don't really have a set thing that I care most about. Just kind of like each project, if I think this is really important, I mean, it's all important, but if I'm like, this is what I care a lot about right now, I'll sit down and
this
like
is where you're gonna put
bang it out.
The most effort into.
Yeah. And I'm pretty good at like, if there's a project I care about, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And then if it's a project I don't care about, it's tough to.
Well, that's the plus side of being a
myself.
freelancer is like you're used to being self-driven solely and not having to necessarily have somebody crack the whip. Like
Exactly.
I didn't do a whole lot of freelance work. I did like 48-hour film festival and stuff like that, and it was because there was always an imposed due date.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the tougher things for me when I got here. Of just like, okay, I have to go write a feature.
Yep.
Never done that before.
And
don't know how to
like
just crack the whip on myself on that.
Yeah. Especially when you have like technically like a month to do it.
Yeah.
But like you really should be doing it before that month is up.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting.
Awesome.
But that's cool.
Well, in kind of wrapping up here, if people want to try and track you down on social media, see the stuff that you're working on, have you posted your nonfiction someplace or
Not
or
yet.
what you're still working on?
Still working on it. I'll have it posted tomorrow.
You're gonna post it?
Hopefully, if not,
I want to see this.
working on it a little bit more. Yeah, there's always stuff to do.
Not convinced on your own project.
I'm not convinced of. Well, yeah, because I have a few hours to put it all together. So
Nice.
we'll
but yeah,
see.
so if people want to track you down, where can they find you?
Yeah. Friend me on Facebook. I'm very friendly. Will Lupica, Lupica. Instagram, Will Loopy. I have like weird spurts of like, there are a couple weeks where I post every day, and then I don't think I've posted in like 2 months since I got here. So
that happens.
At Will Loopy. Or what else? Those are my work lives. Here we go.
Okay.
I
Plug
forgot.
your work.
I have a website. It's called lupicamedia.com.
Okay.
That's probably where all my work lives mostly.
Nice.
And like I have a Vimeo page where all my videos are. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
That's where it is. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Funny how life changes. We're forced to play this game.
That was Will Lupica. Thank you to Will and to the Harold Ramis Film School and the Second City staff for their help. The song on this week's episode was Give Me a Sign by Cathy D off her new EP, Nostalgiaddict. Find it now on iTunes and Spotify. This show is recorded and edited by me, Tony Lazzeroni. If you want to hear more from me and my classmates, teachers, and a few special guests, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you have questions or comments, send us an email at filmstudentpod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram at filmstudentpod. And be sure to check out some of mine and my classmates' work at filmstudentpod.com, where you can also find links to all of our past episodes. See you all next week. Class dismissed.
'Cause I don't wanna think that